What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just editing a goofy line in for when he breaks through the wall.
You're not doing the Juggernaut line like in my video, are you?
No, of course not. What type of terrible person do you honestly think I am? I was just gonna do the Kool-Aid line.
Alright. Good.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
You suck!
Yeah! Yes! 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 Now the whole world's gonna know. Don't scratch my balls.
James Bond is probably the biggest franchise out there that I was the least familiar with. I didn't grow up on these movies like many people did, so in some ways, it's a good thing. I can look at these movies without the nostalgia glasses on.
Man talk.
Before I started research for this review, I was familiar with all the Pierce Brosnan, all the Daniel Craig, and the first 3 Sean Connery films. That's it. And most of these movies I've seen only once. Some twice, but not many. So, to prepare for this review, I sat down and watched every single James Bond film in order. Although many of them have moments that really haven't dated all that great. Overall, I have to say I enjoyed this series for the most part. But since this isn't a series I'm intimately familiar with, I brought in my 2 cents of nonsense to help me out.
Howdy ho, I'm Lindsay, the man whose 2 cents is utter nonsense, and on my long-titled and rather silly show, my second episode was about Casino Royale, which happens to be one of my favorite movies, and is definitely my favorite of the James Bond franchise.
What makes Casino Royale special in a couple different ways is the fact that it was based on the first book written for the character, and it's the first time the character has been given a reboot after 44 years of film history. Literally, all the other Bonds had hints and story elements in the movies to show that from Connery to Brosnan, it's the same man.
Does this still work?
This is the first time we've been introduced to a new Bond outside of some random non-canon movies.
In my day, spying was an alternative to war. And the spy was a member of a select and immaculate priesthood. Hardly a description of that sexual acrobat who leaves a trail of beautiful dead women like blown roses behind him.
In the theater to see Casino Royale, one of the trailers was for Rocky Balboa. I heard whispers and laughs behind me saying, "What is this, Rocky 16?" All I thought was, we're in a theater to see James Bond 21. And while at the time I patted myself on the back for my raw cleverness, I wasn't completely right. Casino Royale is a movie that needs to stand up on its own. Otherwise, it's going to fail as a reboot franchise.
Fun fact, anyone? After the sad and recent passing of the great Sir Christopher Lee, I decided to learn a little more about the man I respected so much.
When Wormtongue rises up and comes up behind Saruman to stab him, of course it was my job as director to talk to Christopher Lee.
I did say to Peter, have you any idea of what kind of noise happens when somebody's stabbed in the back? And I said, well, because I do.
He used to be in the British Secret Service, whatever they were called, the OSS.
He seemed to have expert knowledge of exactly the sort of noise that they make, and so I just sort of didn't push the subject any further. I just said, well, you obviously know what to do, Christopher, so I'm sure you'll do it great, and he did.
And as it turns out, not only was he a part of the British Special Air Service in World War II, and a cousin to Ian Fleming, but he was also Fleming's personal choice to play James Bond in the movies, and Lee may have been an inspiration for Fleming as he wrote the 007 books. I mean, just how cool is that?
See, Mr. Bond, like every great artist, I want to create an indisputable masterpiece once in my lifetime.
Casino Royale has a ton of history as far as the rights to the story go. For years, Eon, the production company with the rights to most Bond stories, didn't have the rights to Casino Royale and Thunderball. So, if they wanted those stories, they had to make deals with the owners of them. And a deal with Kevin McClory allowed Thunderball to be made in 1965, but Casino Royale proved to be trickier. This is why there's the 1954 television movie starring American agent Jimmy Bond.
Well, it looks like you're as lucky as they say.
Eh?
Oh, you're a legend, old boy. Cod Sense Jimmy Bond, they call you.
And the 1967 comedy of uselessness that features Woody Allen as the main villain. Wrap your head around that for a minute.
Good Lord.
But Eon Productions did finally get the rights in 1999.
Throughout all the series, you can expect every movie to have certain tropes. One of the biggest sins of any Bond movie is to make these feel stale, which is hard since they've been repeating them for over 50 years now. Even after that time period, they still have many of these elements, but also have them so they don't feel forced down our throats like some necessary steps to get to the good stuff. At the end of this review, we'll look over and see how this film handled these tropes. And right now, we'll see how it handled its mistakes. I know it's Judi Dench and she's a great actress, but it feels like since she's become M, she now has this desire to constantly leave her office and visit her agents when they're on missions. Or is James Bond just special? Why does she need to come out here and see James Bond in this scene? It makes no sense for her to come out here unless we assume she's here to hang out with Bond and give Dench more screen time.
Now, I enjoy playing Texas Hold'em. I do. The biggest and best pull I've ever had in Vegas was playing the lovely game. But a huge chunk of a movie dedicated to people playing it? I mean, I feel like it's well done and made as exciting as possible, but there's only so far on the excitement meter you can go watching people play poker of any kind. Except dogs. Dogs playing poker is always enthralling.
They're dogs, and they're playing poker!
It was worth it to discover his talent.
What do you mean?
The twitch he has to hide when he bluffs.
Seriously? They need Bond there, using his expert card-playing skills to recognize the most obvious tell in poker history?
Pinocchio, why didn't you go to school?
I was going to school till I met somebody.
Met somebody?
Yeah, two big monsters with big green eyes.
Bond's been poisoned. He's going into cardiac arrest.
So, Bond is poisoned by Le Chiffre and has to defibrillate his heart. Immediately, it's pretty stupid because you can't defibrillate your own heart. You only defibrillate when the heart is stopped. But setting that aside, this scene can be deleted and nothing much would change for the movie on whole. I do like that it's Vesper that saves him, and I get the rebirth metaphor, but it still feels tacked on. Honestly, at best, all I can figure is this scene is paying homage to another Bond trope, the pointless action scene, which is one Bond trope they should definitely drop.
I'm sorry. That last hand nearly killed me.
I think this film got it confused. The girl hangs out in the bathing suit at the beach. Not Bond. Maybe my eyesight is going. Is that Ursula Andress? Or even Halle Berry? No, that's Daniel Craig. Doesn't this film know that objectifying women is one of the more popular tropes? Seriously, who would enjoy having Daniel Craig walk around like this? It's like they're trying to ignore the double standard this franchise was built on.
You're no woman.
Now, honey. Not a woman! Easy. Not a woman! He's not a woman!
The main villain is Le Chiffre, who is awesome. Mads Mikkelsen, sorry if I butchered that, really owns the part. Problem, though, is I don't ever feel like he's a villain as much as a twisted accountant.
The only question remains. Will you yield in time? I want the money. Miss Lynn will give me the account number, if she hasn't already. So all I need from you is the password.
He feels like a henchman character, and he never feels like a mastermind, and we never get the sense that he is the guy to fear. It always feels like there's someone just above him that is the real villain. Like he's just a middleman. Add to it, Bond doesn't even get to kill him.
I'll get the money. Tell them I'll get the money.
Hell, he dies off screen. Come on!
Casino Royale is probably the best made Bond movie and my personal favorite. It would be easy to say this film breaks all the Bond tropes established throughout the franchise, but that isn't true at all. This movie features 2 Bond girls like every Bond movie. The movie has a Bond villain and a henchman. In this movie, the title song is You Know My Name by Chris Cornell. The song meets the 2 qualifications for a good Bond song. It must feel like a Bond song, and it must also well represent the performing artist. The song nails all that, and is easily one of my favorite Bond songs. Bond meets with M quite a few times, and is quite frankly far more sassy with M than ever before.
You've got a bloody cheek.
There is no Q or Moneypenny here, although we get a rather forced line about it.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
This isn't the James Bond rebooted we deserved, but was the one we needed, and also what we and the character deserved too. Daniel Craig is my second favorite Bond so far. He borrows mostly from Timothy Dalton's grit, except Craig turns it up to 11. He also turns Sean Connery's sass to 11 as well.
Hello? Are you going to take this or make me wait?
Certainly, sir. Sorry, sir.
It has a hinting of Lazenby's emotion. It proves to be a good mix for a modern Bond in a world of action movies that Bourne has inspired.
You can argue that this movie takes from the Bourne franchise, and it wouldn't be an easy task to argue against you, but at the end of the day, Casino Royale did exactly what it needed to do. Make Bond relevant in the 21st century. The Brosnan films came out in 95, 97, 99, and 2002 with Die Another Day, the film that turned Bond into an action parody of itself.
Danger powers personal effects.
No. Danger's my middle name.
Die Another Day was supposed to be a celebration of all things Bond, and yet it all but drove the legendary franchise into the ground. And after seeing a movie as cartoony and unbearably over the top as Die Another Day, it's only logical to swing hard in the other direction with a more grounded and real-ish feeling approach. Whether or not a more down-to-earth Bond is for you, it is because of Casino Royale that James continues to grace the big screen, so love it or hate it, the franchise is alive and well thanks to it. If Casino Royale had failed, it wouldn't have meant the death of the franchise, but a poor sequel to it would have been a third strike. And even if it took 6 years, the long-awaited sequel to Casino Royale landed on the 50th anniversary and proved to be the celebration of Bond that Die Another Day was supposed to be.
Martin Campbell proves up for the task of directing his second Bond relaunch. Both proved to be solid movies and 2 of the best films in the franchise 50-year-plus history. Despite this movie's flaws, it knows when to follow the Bond tropes and when to deviate, for the most part. It's not perfect, but it's close enough in my book to earn a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 indeed for this endearing revival piece, and if Spectre is to be Daniel Craig's final turn as Secret Agent 007, here's hoping it's a worthy finale for this chapter that started out so well.
It's great how they've handled the Daniel Craig James Bond films. Granted, he's been Bond for almost a decade and they're just now getting to the third one. But still, it's better that they take their time and really make good James Bond films rather than just throw in a half-assed one in the middle.
I have a quick correction, guys.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Casino Royale is better than Skyfall, but Skyfall's still good. And they're both well made, and it just shows that the studio and the creators behind these really want to make good Bond movies.
Guys?
Jeez, could you imagine how lame it would be if they actually sandwiched in a terrible James Bond film in between Casino Royale and Skyfall? I mean, my God, not only would that be a terrible disappointment after Casino Royale, but would weigh down the entire Daniel Craig reboot franchise.
Seriously, guys.
Oh my God, that would just be insane. Like if they were still making Terminator movies, it would just be unnecessary and just leave horrid tastes in people's mouths.
There was a Bond movie between Casino Royale and Skyfall. It's titled Quantum of Solace.
Ah, damn it!
What's wrong with you? Do you realize how many lobotomies I had to go through to forget that movie? None!
That's how bad that movie is. It doesn't even register as a bad movie. In my mind, it's just a 2-hour void of my life.
Well, you guys seem to have forgotten.
Oh, we did. On purpose.
I should know. I'm the bad movie apologist of this group.
Well, at least there aren't any inferior Terminator sequels.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Hey, if you like this video, please make sure to hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. And if you really love this video, consider visiting my Patreon page.